En este mundo cruel, no solo lo habitamos seres de luz, bondad y de buenas intenciones. También lo habitan seres horripilantes, capaces de hacer cualquier cosa, con tal de llevar el mal hasta los rincones más profundos de nuestra existencia. No todo lo que es oro brilla, ya que a veces las personas más cercanas a nosotros visten con mucha comodidad su piel de cordero. Sin darnos cuenta de los monstruos que nos rodean a diario, estos se pasean con plena libertad y devoción entre nosotros. En fin, te invito a ver 3 entrevistas reales de asesinos seriales parte 1. Número 3. Ted Bundy. Theodore Robert Bundy, nacido en Cowell, Burlington, Vermont, el 24 de noviembre de 1946. Fue un asesino en serie estadounidense que secuestró, violó y asesinó a decenas de mujeres jóvenes durante la década de 1970, y posiblemente antes. Las víctimas de su interés eran jóvenes blancas de entre 15 y 25 años, en su mayoría universitarias. Después de más de una década negándolo, confesó sus asesinatos y homicidios de un montón de mujeres estadounidenses. Mientras estuvo en prisión, admitió haber asesinado 30 mujeres y niñas, además de ser sospechoso de haber cometido 20 asesinatos. Fue declarado culpable el 31 de julio de 1979 y condenado a muerte. A continuación, los dejaré con el metraje real de su última entrevista antes de ser ejecutado en su pena de muerte.
As children were the focus of my parents' lives, where we regularly attended church, 2 Christian parents who did not drink, they did not smoke, there was no gambling, there was no physical abuse or fighting in the home. That basically, I was a normal person. I wasn't some guy hanging out at bars or a bum. I wasn't a pervert in the sense that, people look at somebody and say, I know there's something wrong with them, and just tell. I mean, I was essentially a normal person. I had good friends. I led a normal life, except for this one small but very potent and very destructive segment of it that I kept very secret, very close to myself, and didn't let anybody know about it. And part of the shock and horror for my dear friends and family years ago when I was first arrested was that there was no clue. They looked at me and they looked at the all-American boy. And it happened in stages, gradually. It doesn't necessarily, not to me at least, happen overnight. My experience with, I'd say, pornography generally, but with pornography that deals on a violent level with the sexuality, is that once you become addicted to it, and I look at this as a kind of addiction, like an addiction, you keep craving something which is harder, something which gives you a greater sense of excitement, until you reach the point where the pornography only goes so far. You reach that jumping off point where you begin to wonder if maybe actually doing it will give you that which is beyond just reading about it or looking at it. Listen, I'm no social scientist, and I haven't done a survey. I mean, I don't pretend that I know what John Q. Citizen thinks about this. But I've lived in prison for a long time now. And I've met a lot of men who were motivated to commit violence just like me. And without exception, every one of them was deeply involved in pornography, without question, without exception, deeply influenced and consumed by an addiction to pornography. There's no question about it. The FBI's own study on serial homicide shows that the most common interest among serial killers is pornography. Those of us who have been so much influenced by violence in the media, in particular pornographic violence, are not some kinds of inherent monsters. We are your sons and we are your husbands. And we grew up in regular families. And pornography can reach out and snatch a kid out of any house today. He snatched me out of my home. It snatched me out of my home 20, 30 years ago. And as diligent as my parents were, and they were diligent in protecting their children, and as good a Christian home as we had, and we had a wonderful Christian home, there is no protection against the kinds of influences that are loose in the society.
Número 2. Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer, nacido el 21 de mayo de 1960, también conocido como el caníbal de Milwaukee o el monstruo de Milwaukee, fue un asesino en serie y agresor sexual estadounidense que cometió el asesinato y desmembramiento de 17 hombres y adolescentes entre 1978 y 1991. Muchos de sus asesinatos involucraron la necrofilia, el canibalismo y la preservación permanente de partes del cuerpo, generalmente todo o parte del esqueleto. Aunque se le diagnosticó un trastorno límite de la personalidad, un trastorno esquizotípico de la personalidad y un trastorno psicótico, en su juicio se consideró que Dahmer estaba legalmente cuerdo. Fue condenado por 15 de los 16 asesinatos que había cometido en Wisconsin y fue sentenciado a 15 cadenas perpetuas el 17 de febrero de 1992. Ahora los dejaré con esta aterradora y fría entrevista, antes de ser asesinado a golpes por Christopher Scarver, un compañero de prisión en la institución correccional de Columbia.
I don't know how to put it, possess them permanently.
And that's why you killed them.
Right. Not because I was angry with them, not because I hated them, but because I wanted to keep them with me. And as my obsession grew, I was saving body parts such as skulls and skeletons. It's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. When you depersonalize another person and view them as just an object for pleasure instead of a living, breathing human being, it seems to make it easier to do things you shouldn't do.
You do sound, though, like the kind of person who could have said to himself, "This is wrong, I must stop."
I always knew that it was wrong, but after the first killing was not planned. I was coming back from the shopping mall back in '78. I had fantasies about picking up a hitchhiker and taking him back to the house and having complete control and dominance over him.
What happened to you in the 9 years in between that you were able to stop, that you were able to control yourself?
There just wasn't an opportunity to fully express what I wanted to do. There was just not the physical opportunity to do it then. And I started, when I moved to Milwaukee in '81, I started reading pornography, going to the bookstores. Eventually that led to frequenting the gay bars. And then one time I brought this young man back to the hotel room, the Ambassador Hotel. Was just planning on drugging him and spending the night with him. I had no intention of hurting him. When I woke up in the morning, he had a broken rib here, was heavily bruised. Apparently I had beaten him to death with my fists.
And you have no memory
I
of
have
it?
no memory of it. But that's what started the whole spree all over again.
When you killed these men, afterwards, were you repulsed? Were you upset?
No, at the time, it was almost addictive. It was almost a surge of energy. I wouldn't have to worry about any of their needs or anything. I just had complete control of the situation.
Why did you photograph them?
It was my way of remembering their appearance, their physical beauty. I also wanted to keep something. If I couldn't keep them there with me whole, at least I felt that I could keep their skeletons. And I even went so far as planning on setting up an altar with the 10 different skulls and skeletons.
And what was the purpose of the altar going to be?
As a sort of memorial. A point where I could, I don't know, it's so bizarre and strange, it's hard to describe. A place where I could collect my thoughts and feed my obsession.
When the bodies were still in your apartment, there was no time when you would see them and say, this is grotesque, what have I done?
There were times, but the compulsive obsession with doing what I was doing overpowered any feelings of revulsion.
Before you went out to pick up a man, was there any kind of ritual you went through?
I'd go to the nightclubs, drink, watch the striptease shows, and if I didn't meet anyone at the bars, I'd go to the bath clubs and meet someone there, offer them money, and we'd go back to the apartment, have a few drinks. I'd have the sleeping pill mixture already prepared. Person would drink it, fall asleep, and that's when...
Número 1. Richard Ramírez. Ricardo Richard Leiva Muñoz Ramírez, nacido en Texas el 29 de febrero de 1960. Más bien apodado como The Night Stalker, el acosador nocturno, fue un asesino en serie y agresor sexual estadounidense que mató a 14 personas en la ciudad de Los Ángeles entre los años 1984 y 1985. Fue capturado el 31 de agosto de 1985 por una turba enorme de vecinos del sector en su último crimen, al ser revelada su imagen en el periódico local, para ser exactos a las 11:25 horas del día. Para finalizar, a continuación los dejaré con el metraje de su captura y su entrevista luego de ser arrestado y sentenciado.
In some form or another, are we not?
Convicted serial killer Richard Ramirez seemed to relish the concept of evil, and once upon a time, a lot of folks in the state of California viewed the one-time Texas altar boy as evil's human embodiment.
Yes, I am evil. Not 100%, but I am evil.
In the summer of 1985, the Texas drifter descended like a deadly disease on a hot California night. A one-man epidemic of madness and murder, one of America's first serial killers to be given a brand name, the Night Stalker.
Lock your doors, lock your windows. If you have the ability to provide additional security devices, then by all means do so.
Who wants to be next? I don't. No one else does.
He preyed on both women and men, young and old. He slipped through windows, slit throats, raped, tortured, and killed.
What he did to me has been the total destruction of my life and my girlfriend's life.
Former computer engineer Bill Carnes, one of Ramirez's many victims. One night, Carnes and his girlfriend were assaulted in their bed. The woman was raped and Bill Carnes shot 3 times in the head. Bill Carnes ended up in a group home with a bullet still lodged in his brain.
He stole my memory, he took my girlfriend, he took my career. This was just an unprovoked attack.
But after dozens of such attacks, police identified their suspect, and on the morning of August 1st, 1985, Richard Ramirez's picture ran on front pages, and within hours, angry residents of this East LA neighborhood spotted, captured, and then severely beat Richard Ramirez as he tried to steal a car to evade police.
We're happy to announce that the individual we have in custody is Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker.
I can't begin to tell you how proud we, all of us, are of the people in this community who, to a man and a woman, were involved in trying to track this guy down and capture him.
That night, there was dancing in the streets of the East LA neighborhood where Ramirez was caught, but in court, the case dragged on for 4 long years, with the Texas drifter frequently disrupting the proceedings by displaying satanic signs and shouting obscenities at the judge.
This trial is a joke.
With the jury in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Richard Ramirez, guilty of murder.
But in the end, the jury sent Richard Ramirez to California's death row for 13 murders. I first met Richard Ramirez shortly after his LA conviction. Richard had been transferred to a jail in San Francisco where he was charged with and ultimately would be found guilty of a 14th murder.
What do you want the world to know about you?
The world has been fed many lies about me. I have read very few truths.
Who are you?
Just a guy. Just a guy.
At the time, Ramirez was certainly a guy attracting a lot of attention. Since his arrival at the San Francisco jail, women from around the country, including one of the female jurors who had found him guilty in Los Angeles, had been flocking to the San Francisco facility, even fighting with each other over Richard's affections.
I have friends. That is all I care to say, really. They are open-minded people.
And it was here, in a cramped room in a San Francisco jail, that I interviewed the man known as the Night Stalker. A memorable face-off, with me asking questions, and Ramirez, for the most part, reading from a script.
Did you kill 13 people?
It would be improper for me to comment on my LA convictions and on my pending case here in San Francisco.
Why?
Because of my appeals.
Are you appealing these because you say you're innocent? You didn't kill 13 people?
That is correct.
You didn't kill 13 people?
Again, it would be improper for me to comment in any regard to that question.
You have now entered a very rare group of people in this country. You're in the ranks of Charlie Manson, Ted Bundy. You claim you didn't commit these murders, but you're right in there now as far as everybody else is concerned.
Serial killers do on a small scale what governments do on a large one. They are a product of the times, and these are bloodthirsty times. Even psychopaths have emotions if you dig deep enough, but then again, maybe they don't.
Do you have emotions, Richard?
No comment.
Tell me what kind of emotions you got going through you right now.
I'll tell you what, I gave up on love and happiness a long time ago.
Why?
I don't care to explain that. Let the quote stand for itself. People in this day and age are brainwashed and programmed like a computer at being nothing more than puppets. This nation, this country is founded in violence. Violent delights tend to have violent ends. Madness is something rare in individuals, but in groups, people, and ages, it is a rule. Killing is killing, whether done for duty, profit, or fun. Men murdered themselves into this democracy.
You're good at reading your script, Richard, but you're not much at answering my direct questions. A lot was made that you're a devil worshiper. Do you worship the devil? Have you ever studied Satanism?
There are different sects of Satanism.
Have you studied, just yes or no, have you studied Satanism?
Yes, I have.
Are you a worshiper of the devil?
No comment.
Come on, Richard.
I can tell you a little bit about Satanism.
Well, I'm interested in hearing what you got to say then.
It is undefiled wisdom instead of hypocritical self-deceit. It is power without charity. A Satanist admits to being evil.
Do you admit to being evil, Richard?
We are all evil in some form or another, are we not?
I'm asking you the questions, my friend.
Yes, I am evil. Not 100%, but I am evil. Evil has always existed. The perfect world most people seek shall never come to pass, and it's going to get worse. The great epochs of our life is when we gain the courage to rebaptize our evil qualities as being our best qualities.
And as the interview draws to a close, I cannot help but recall Bill Carnes and the thought that behind this glib young man, who seems to flatter himself as a kind of rock star outlaw, lies the bodies of at least 13 innocent people and the shattered lives.
Si el video te gustó, no olvides suscribirte, además de darle me gusta y compartir con tus amigos. Te saluda Golb. Historias Nocturnas. Nos vemos en el próximo video.